All right, today we're diving into an incredibly ambitious project called CYSIC. Their big idea? To build a massive, open, global market for raw computing power.
But first, let me ask you this, just to get your head in the right space. What if the processing power sitting in your computer or in these huge data centers wasn't just a utility? What if it was a liquid financial asset you could trade, lend, and program, just like any other?
You know, to really get why that question is such a big deal, you have to look at where we are now. Almost every blockchain project out there, from Bitcoin to Solana, is really built to do one thing and one thing only: optimize financial transactions. They're all about making them faster, cheaper, and more secure.
Cysic, though, is looking at something way more fundamental. They're aiming at the layer that sits underneath pretty much all of our modern technology.
Yeah, they're trying to optimize global compute itself. With things like AI and super advanced tech like zero-knowledge proofs, the stuff that lets you prove something is true without actually showing the data, the demand for processing power is just insatiable. It's a huge bottleneck, and Cysic wants to be the project that smashes right through it.
So, what's the plan? How are they going to pull this off? Well, their solution has a name, and it's a concept they are really pioneering. It's called ComputeFi.
ComputeFi, or computational finance, is really the heart of their vision. It's all about creating an infrastructure that can take this abstract idea of computation and turn it into something real, something liquid, something you can actually program on a blockchain. Honestly, the best way to think about it is like turning raw electricity into a tradable commodity on a global exchange.
And what's super interesting is how they're building this. It's not just a single piece of software. Cysic is putting together a network that combines four crucial pillars. You've got the crazy computational needs of ZK proofs, the ever-growing hunger of AI, a physical network of decentralized hardware, and their own custom blockchain to manage the whole shebang.
So that brings us to the tech that makes all this tick. Instead of just tweaking old models, they've gone and created a brand new mechanism they're calling proof of compute.
And this chart just nails the difference. With old-school proof of work, miners burn a ridiculous amount of energy solving these abstract math puzzles just to keep the network secure. Now, what if all that energy was also used for something useful, like helping scientists fold proteins to cure diseases? Well, that's the whole game changer here. With proof of compute, the work being done is actually valuable. It's generating ZK proofs or running AI models. So the key takeaway is this: the energy spent to secure the network also creates a valuable product. Nothing is wasted.
So what's their edge? Well, for one, Cysic isn't just software. They're going for vertical integration, designing their own custom hardware like ASICs, those are chips built for one specific job, to squeeze out every last drop of performance. Then, they're already teaming up with the big players in the space. And finally, their whole system is built on the Cosmos SDK, which is a super well-regarded framework. It's really this three-part strategy that sets them apart.
Of course, a project this big needs some serious fuel in the tank to get going. So let's take a look at the money and the economic model behind the whole Cysic ecosystem.
And oh yeah, they've got it. The project has already pulled in a cool $12 million in a pre-A funding round from some of the biggest VCs in crypto like Polychain and Hashkey Capital. That's a huge signal of confidence from some very smart money.
The network's economy runs on a pretty clever dual token model. On one side, you have CYS, that's your utility token. It's the cash of the network. You use it to pay for compute, it's what hardware providers earn, and it's what you stake to help secure everything. Then on the other side, you have CGT. This one's a governance token, and you can't trade it. You get it by locking up your CYS, and it gives you a vote on the future of the protocol. It's a smart way to separate the day-to-day economy from long-term control.
And for those of you keeping score at home, here are the vital stats for the CYS token. There's a total supply of 1 billion. The token launch is planned for the last quarter of 2025, and yes, there will be an airdrop for early birds and community members when it all goes live.
So the vision is massive, the tech is slick. But that brings us to the most important part. We have to weigh the incredible potential here against some pretty significant risks.
First, let's talk about momentum, because the early numbers from their testnet are kinda wild. They got over 1.3 million people to participate. We're not talking about a small group of nerds here. That is a huge global community checking this thing out before it's even fully launched. And those people weren't just kicking the tires. They pushed through over 13 million transactions on the testnet. That proves the early version of the network can handle some serious traffic, which is a make-or-break test for any new infrastructure project. But this might be the most important number of all. All that activity was supported by hundreds of thousands of active nodes.
For a decentralized network, that's the metric that matters. It shows you've got a robust, resilient, and spread-out foundation, which is exactly what you need if you're serious about building a global compute market.
But let's be real, the road ahead is anything but easy. They're jumping into a hyper-competitive space where ZK and AI meet. The tech they're building is mind-bogglingly complex. And at the end of the day, their success hinges on getting real, paying customers to use their services. Not to mention, their hardware plan has to be executed perfectly at an industrial scale.
And this quote just hits the nail on the head. When you're building this kind of advanced infrastructure, having the best tech on paper means absolutely nothing if people don't use it. The real test for Cysic is going to be crossing that bridge from cool tech to a tool that developers can't live without. So, that's the billion-dollar question, isn't it? Is Cysic actually building the foundation for the future of computing, creating this open global market? Or is it a brilliant, fascinating, but ultimately incredibly high-risk experiment? I think the answer really comes down to whether they can turn all this amazing technology into real-world adoption.